Hey, good morning, fifth graders. Unless it's not morning if you're watching this. Alright, we are introducing a brand new topic this week. I think most of you have some familiarity with this because if you've ever played Battleship, this is exactly the topic on which you need to use to even be able to play Battleship. Okay, so we're going to understand a coordinate plane. Now, to start off, it's going to be a little bit different than what I did in my previous videos. I think we really need to understand the vocabulary here to be able to be successful here. So this first video is just focused on vocabulary terms and what they mean. Okay. Now, we will be on, you have this, guys. I gave you the teacher manual packet. So in your packet, you'll want to be following along on page 645A. Okay, 645A, that will have all of these vocabulary terms, but I'm going to give you guys visuals on what those vocabulary terms mean. Okay? So the overarching topic that we are going to be learning about is a coordinate plane. Now, what is a coordinate plane? Well, if you look at your lesson vocabulary, it says a two-dimensional space formed by two perpendicular lines called axes. Okay? Well, all that means is we have two perpendicular lines formed by two axes. Here's one that runs side to side. Here's one that runs vertical up and down. Okay? This is what we call a coordinate plane. Okay? And that's it. It's two perpendicular lines that show a two-dimensional figure. Now, what do these different parts mean? What does this axis mean? What does that axis mean? They both have names for them. Okay, so we're going to start with the y-axis. Okay? Now, y-axis always runs up and down, vertically. Okay, so we call this entire axis, the y-axis. That is the line that runs up and down. Okay? Because remember, when we look at coordinate plane, it has two perpendicular lines that we call axes. Well, this line is the y-axis. Now, we have a y-axis, so we must have another axis right over here. And this is what we call the x-axis. And that's the one that runs side to side or horizontal. Okay? So in my coordinate plane, that's this whole thing put together, we have two axes. We have the y-axis running up and down or vertically, and we have the x-axis running side to side. Okay, now, with that, a big term that you guys are going to find is the origin. Okay? And the origin is the starting point for both the x and y-axis. Okay? So the origin is always starts at 0. The y-axis has an origin point of starting point of 0, and so does the x-axis. That's why we call it the origin. It starts at 0. Okay? Now, with that being said, what we're going to do a lot with these is finding ordered pairs. Now, essentially, the y-axis and the x-axis are simply number lines. Okay? So, just like any number line, we start at 0. Now, if I number the x-axis, I'm just going to go a couple. There's 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay? And I would do the same for the y-axis. We have 1, 2, and 3. Because, like I said, these axes just act as number lines. Okay? Now, in there, you'll notice that you have an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. Okay? Well, we get these coordinates when we use ordered pairs. Okay? So when I say ordered pairs, I am talking about something that looks like this in a bracket. Okay? An ordered pair has an x-coordinate that comes from our x-axis and a y-coordinate that comes from our y-axis. And how we order those is the same every single time in every single ordered pair. Okay? The x-coordinate comes first, followed by the y-coordinate. And if I have an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate, I have an ordered pair. Okay? Now, where do I get these coordinates? Well, once again, from our coordinate plane, based on what data we have from our x-axis in our y-axis. Now the last thing that we're going to talk about is how do I read an ordered pair and how do I read a coordinate? Well, once again, I'm going to go back to our origin. Now, every number line, pretty much every number line we've ever used, starts with 0. And that goes for the x-axis and the y-axis. So what is the ordered pair for the origin? Well, it's actually pretty simple. We're starting at 0 for the x, and we're starting at we're starting at 0 for the y-axis, right? So the ordered pair for the origin would be 0 on the x-axis, because x always comes first, and 0 on the y. So our origin's ordered pair is 0, 0. Because I took, every ordered pair has an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. So I took 0 from the x-axis, and I took 0 from the y-axis. Okay? Now I'm just going to lay out a random coordinate. Let's say I'm going to put it about right here. This is what we call, that's what we call a coordinate. Okay? Now if I were to use the coordinate plane to provide you with an ordered pair, I know that my x-coordinate always comes first. Well, where does that ordered pair line up according to my x-axis and my y-axis? Well, I got to look at it. So I know in my ordered pair, x always comes first, so I'm going to start with my x-axis. Okay? So here's one. Is my coordinate line up with 1 on the x-axis? No, it doesn't. It's over here. So I pop over to here. Now I look at my coordinate that is plotted right here, and it lines up on the x-axis with 2. So my x-coordinate would be 2. Right? And then I just do the same thing for the y-axis. Okay, so I start with my origin. I go up to 1. My coordinate does not line up with 1 on the y-axis. I go up 1 more, and my coordinate lines up pretty closely with 2. So what's my y-coordinate? Well, it is a 2. Okay? Okay, guys, that concludes all of our vocabulary terms. Now, this is going to be very useful for everything that we introduce later on in our lessons, okay? So, everything that we went over in this has a vocabulary term. We have our coordinate plane, which is everything. We have our x-axis, which is the line, perpendicular line that runs horizontal, okay, or side to side. We have our y-axis, which runs vertically or up and down. We have our origin that starts at 0, 0. Every single coordinate we will introduce is an ordered pair, meaning x always comes first, y always coming second in our ordered pair. Then when we actually plot a coordinate, each coordinate has an ordered pair according to the x and y. In this particular one, our x-coordinate is 2, and our y-coordinate is 2 as well. Okay? That introduces all vocabulary that we're going to be using in this topic. Alright guys, hopefully this was useful, and I will be talking to you soon.